with a discussion on what is really in it for Nigeria. In the just concluded Paris summit, where President Bola Tinubu was also part of about 300 leaders that attended from different countries. We're going to be looking at the opportunities, the economic opportunities, and also looking at the fact that the president actually said that Nigeria is ready for global business. So to discuss this issue, with set this morning, I have no other person than Yusha'u Aliu. He is an economist, and he is going to be doing justice to this topic today. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you.
So the president said Nigeria is ready for global economy business. What does this mean for Nigeria?
As usual, it means that we are prepared. And you know, when Africa is mentioned, Nigeria is the most important nation because it's the largest black concentrated individuals with so much of economic, social, and human resources facilities. So when he said that we are ready, politically we are ready, but there are certain targets at which it can help the preparations and the success for whatever engagement we are taking as far as global financing challenges is concerned.
What are those targets, specific targets we're talking about?
Specific target, first we identify our weaknesses and we identify our strengths, and at the same time we look at our engagement. Engagement looking at the size of the economy, the size of the deficit, the size of our debt, including also the size of our future endeavors. These are very important targets which can help our economy to be what is expected, looking at many regions, including, for instance, looking at even the economic zone of West Africa in the first instance. You remember that the African nations have agreed under an agreement on the Africa Continental Free Trade area, where we can have trading without much barriers, trading without much taxes, so that in Africa we can reduce poverty. One of the targets in the Paris Summit is we are targeting how to control first the size of devastation of our climate and environment. Nigeria has a target to reduce vandalism, has a target also to control the desertification. These are targets to control the economy, and in doing that you need right financing. And if you are looking for right financing, you have to look at your deficit. Looking at the deficit, you look at what you are servicing, your current debt profile, where you are saving, for instance, where you are saving much from the accruals and then paying high in servicing your debt. You have a target of not borrowing, a target of meeting your commitment, a target where also you are having new funds to push development effort based on the target of the economy. These are some of the things mostly in economics, mostly in economy you have to look. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has come in a very crucial time when Nigeria was in the background. In the background, once you sign an agreement, the continent has a target where you have no trade barrier. And if you don't have trade barrier, why are you creating barriers by yourself? So you need to understand the target of the continent, the target for the world economy. World Trade Organization has a target where you have barrier-free transactions around the globe, low taxes attached to trading, because it all bounces back to consumer confidence, to consumer maximization of whatever they are consuming around the globe. So these are some of the economic targets by the economy, by the private sector, and by the household.
Okay, in your submission, you talked about preparedness according to the president's statement, that it means Nigeria is prepared. And with all that you have listed, can you say Nigeria is really prepared for foreign direct investments?
Yes, of course. Just look at just after May 29th, see what transpired in our market, and see the potential that is coming out. And now that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in Paris, how many businessmen showed their interest of coming to Nigeria? And they are not just coming to just come and see Zuma Rock. They are coming with facilities. And these facilities, if they are coming, assuming only 40 investors are coming, and each is investing $1 million. $1 million, how much jobs is it going to be created? How much statistics is this going to provide to the economy? These are some of the multiplicity of opportunities that are coming, and that is why we may not be wrong to say that Nigeria is a prepared economic potential where a lot of investors are willing to come. And looking also that Nigeria has already beginning to witness certain economic improvement from the recession of the COVID-19, because the summit look at many reasons. Inequality, for instance. Exactly. This inequality was created by the colonial powers, and French is one. Nigeria is surrounded by the Francophone countries, and this surrounded, and then we created a barrier. Nigeria has an ambition, not only an ambition to have more trading partners, but an ambition to have a regional currency that can facilitate trade. But what are the type of investment that are required? We need to invest in road networks where you can travel from Nigeria to Central African Republic without any barrier.
Do we have enough road networks within the country that you can travel from one state to another, from Nigeria to other countries?
We don't have, but we have will. President Muhammadu Buhari has created a window where a rail line is to connect Nigeria and Niger Republic.
And even that is being questioned up to today.
Yes.
Looking at the fact that we do not have such luxury within the country.
You see,
the only one that we had was attacked, and up till now, I tell you, many Nigerians are skeptical of going by train.
Yes, are skeptical.
They are afraid, actually.
I am one.
You're also one, okay.
Exactly. So there is not any skepticism that has to do with other interventions that must be done by the government. Intervention in terms of economic environment itself. And that is why there is need to put the right people in administering the security aspect for network to be more efficient.
Yes, I was coming to that. We all know the underlying factors.
Yeah.
Why Nigeria over the years lose so many investors.
Yeah.
And that one of those major factors happen to be insecurity.
Yes.
And you will agree with me that we are still facing this insecurity. So how is this going to happen?
You see, when insecurity is mentioned, it is entirely man-made intervention.
Sure.
So, and it is not only subject to a single economy. The summit in Paris is discussing the impact of Russia-Ukraine war. And the entire war, who are the architects of the war? Who are the architects? The entire insecurity of witnesses now is not up to the gravity the Ukrainians are facing, because it's between life and death. Every single time, every single hour, there is a risk involved.
But you will agree with me that the Nigerian listening to you, they will say that is Ukraine.
No. What I'm trying to say,
and that is a war situation.
No. Whatever in Nigeria is also a war situation where individuals took machineries against the government. So there are different category of crises. This crisis can be direct war, can be indirect war. The Ethiopia is an indirect war, because it's this a citizen for having just one opportunity or the other can just decide to take arms against each other, and that is what is draining some of the economy. But for the Ukrainian, it's also avoidable war, because it's just a choice between joining NATO and not joining NATO, and then putting a rest at the entire structure. Over 400 billion was destroyed. How much is destroyed in Nigerian economy? $400 billion destroyed in 2 years. The entire Africa is looking for $10 million to have our economic network booming. So, but in Nigerian context also, what you're
trying to say is that there's hope for Nigeria.
There is hope for Nigeria because how many, none of this insurgent is as dangerous as, for instance, single individual Wagner, for instance, who is having 25,000. He's a private man with 25,000 troops, and with a license to operate. So, in my context, what I'm trying to show is that, yes, of course, there are some challenges, but they are easy to overcome. Once you put the security architecture on ground, once you have the right people, look at the encouragement from the new Inspector General of Police when he has been decorated, telling Nigerians that he's feeling like a tiger, meaning he is willing. He is anxious to be on the field. And that is what we are expecting him to behave like a tiger.
Okay, about that. Do not forget that he is acting now. He is on acting capacity. And some Nigerians will actually fault this. They'll say this is not the first time we're hearing statements like this. So it's one thing to make a statement. It's another thing to match your statement with action.
The zeal is what is always there.
Of course.
Because
there's always zeal when somebody is being appointed. Yes. You make statements, you give matching orders. But what happened next?
Charity will give you matching orders, not all. Sometimes there is fashion. Wagner was working directly for Putin against Ukrainians. But along the line, something happens. So, but for now, it's a new president, decorating a new Inspector General of Police on acting capacity. And he is feeling like a tiger. And
you should behave like a tiger.
And we should believe that.
Not just feel like a tiger.
Yes. It's an irony. And it is always, you always describe the state you are.
Exactly.
From your mind. And we have seen that. So what I'm trying to tell you is the fact that, look, by having new security advisor who is a policeman, by having Inspector General of Police who is feeling like a tiger, the entire concept is likely to change. That is the first belief. It's likely to change. Not just a situation where you are not building confidence. Because what matters more, in any situation for economic development, you have to build confidence. And if you are in building confidence, you have to show the zeal. And after showing the zeal, you have to now understand. You don't have to rush to war front. You have to understand what you inherited. And you have to look at the capacity of the personnel that is attached to every zone. They are trained to do that. And that is what we are expecting. We are expecting the same economic environment to have a touch of security concern, so that whatever investors that are coming, look, if there is no hope for this economy, the investors that are willing to come, how many investors? You just show before this program what inspired people. Inspiration in the sense that some people give courage. Now, some of this courage has to do with inspirational. What are you pushing to individuals to understand that you mean business? Meaning you have to take a big risk. That is the last one you posted by Bill Clinton. For you to succeed, you take a big risk. And all investors, if they are to invest more, they have to take a big risk. They should not just go to where if you go to China, China is a comfortable economy where there is no war,
there's no risk in China.
There is no risk in China, and there are investment opportunities. But when you go to China, there is also competition.
But China is also open to viruses.
Whatever viruses, but you can contain yourself. It's not a direct confrontation. This is something has to do with a way of living. And also the consciousness of the people. But when you are taking big risks in any investment, there is opportunity. It's only in Nigeria you can invest. You can invest in agriculture and you have profit. You invest in manufacturing, you have profit. You invest in energy, you have profit. You invest even in trading, you have benefit. So there are multiple opportunities because it's a large economy with so much of potentials. Any reason for an individual to invest exists in Nigeria. And that is why I am trying to, in a forum like this, I advise President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not to joke with the special economic zones. These special economic zones exist everywhere. If you take ginger, for instance, ginger is only produced in a particular region in Nigeria, and it is successful. Who are those to invest? Would modernization of the agriculture there, would manufacturing that will be harnessing what is, instead for us to be taking the raw ginger outside the economy of Nigeria. Who are those ready to invest? The entire Africa is ready to consume ginger, but it's located to a particular region.
Is it even beyond Africa?
Even beyond. No, I'm just trying to show you continentally how we can make our free trade to work, and we can still have our benefit. Foreign direct investment does not mean that somebody from Saudi Arabia must come to Nigeria and invest, or somebody from the United States must come to Nigeria and invest. All we are looking is fresh funds anywhere, and the technical know-how to invest. And that is why this summit in Paris is very important, because it has reminded us of our own capacity, it has reminded us of our challenges, and it is also reminding us to now make proper arrangement so that we can make good use of the opportunity that exists around us.
Okay, now this new Global Financial Pact, you are an economist. If you were to advise, what sector, because we are looking at how it will trickle down, how the impact will trickle down to the ordinary Nigerian, right? And if the ordinary Nigerian does not feel this impact, you and I know that it's like stories, the same old, same old. So what sector of the economy will you advise this should be the focus?
The sectors are just clearly written on the wall. Energy. Whoever invests in energy.
Why energy?
Energy, because it's an engine of growth. And it's something that the entire Nigerians are looking for it to pay. It's the same as PMS. It's the same as AGO. Nigerians are looking for it to pay so that they can continue moving with their businesses. So energy, the entire economy is looking for energy. We cannot continue to wait and see our manufacturing moving out of our economy to other economies in West Africa because of energy. So the first thing to do is to now improve on energy at lower cost, because by the time you have multiple investment, there is going to be large market, and based on the existence of large market, you make better profit because there are consumers waiting for the product. And after energy, what I'm expecting is to investors that will come and modernize our agricultural.
Now let's look at energy.
Now,
over the years, a lot has been spent on this same energy. So much money has been spent on the same energy. And it doesn't look as if there is much improvement on this energy. So what do you think could change within a short period?
But we call right investors that can come and compete. With the competition will solve all this problem. Because the problem that we are experiencing is that when the liberalization of the industry came in, the structure of the industry was somehow manipulated. You have the generating, you have the distribution,
exactly,
and you have the marketing.
And then you keep hearing that enough has been generated,
yes,
but it cannot be
transmitted. It cannot be transmitted. So this has the challenges. Why must you increase the capacity of projection from the generation and then take and then sold it because we cannot distribute it? It's unfair. We produce and we cannot channel it because we don't make investment in that. So with the opening of different multiple generating companies, they should be given the power to generate and transmit.
The new act signed by the president has given the room for that.
Yes,
for individuals and state governments to generate their own electricity
and distribute. That is one. Second, if you take what Dangote is about to produce, 12,500, 3 times of what we are producing. Only Dangote is producing. And if it is produced efficiently, It can cover the entire southwest. So what are we looking? We are looking similar production from the southeast, from the northwest, from the north central. When that happens, the energy problem is solved. If, for instance, in the northwest, we can be able to generate even 3,000 megawatt by any capacity, we are expecting all our textile companies to come back to work because it can be sustained. And that is the challenge that the entire economy is under sustainable development goal. Whatever that you are trying to undertake, it should be a situation where it can be sustained over a long period of time, and there must be new investment. Not only new investment, but giving adequate training and provision for the human capacity, because for a nation to succeed, human capital development index must be positive all the time. That is, number of unemployed must be reducing, number of poverty must be reducing,
that
number
is very
of
important.
is very expensive. So these are some of the things I think if we can agree, because one of the dictates of failure is to believe that you cannot. You cannot. If you believe you cannot, you will never be. And that is why today we must build from a situation, and that is the importance of this financing pact. It has been agreed that the two economic bloc, the European bloc and the African bloc, there is a lot of things that have been shortchanged to Africans for a very long period of time, and they have created serious inequality, and they have created serious debt crisis. So there should be arrangement. If you are giving us facility for agriculture, that facility of agriculture, as you are advancing, there must be a mechanism to make sure that that same facility has worked for the economy, not just to become a burden. A burden where you take agri facilities and you now channel it to political campaigns, which is prevalent in most African economies.
Exactly.
And that is what is
that
taking
is the
us
bane.
back.
That is the bane of Nigeria.
With the digitalization of the economy, with the coming of this pact, where you change the scenario, you change the expectation, and therefore you change the outcome. If outcome continue to change for a better, that is what the economy is looking for.
So how will it affect the sector, agriculture?
It depends on the type of investment, and that's why I say we must embark on a policy where you now attempt to modernize the agricultural practices. We don't need to be using. In China, artificial intelligence, for instance, is applied. For instance, in ginger production, they have the facility. You have machine that can work. Even while others are sleeping, the machine is working. Artificial intelligence investment will drive the economy. While you are just sleeping, while you are just taking other things, the machine is working. So it can be applied in our textile. What is wrong with, for instance, now, Nigeria before independence is the largest producer of cotton.
Exactly, I was about to ask, because I remember that right from the former President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, Nigeria has been loud about diversification of its economy, and with a focus on agriculture. Now, how will you assess this, the performance, the agriculture sector, the performance of the agricultural sector over the years?
It's not been consistent, and it is affected by so much of fraud. And that is why today...
Is it only fraud?
Let's limit it to fraud.
Okay,
only.
fine. How is it affected by fraud?
It's affected by fraud where, for instance, you have trillions of money advanced to the same industry, and it cannot be remitted back for others to use it.
Okay, how so?
How so? It depends on the mechanism that has been used to expend the expenditure. And that is
people take loans and they don't pay back. There's no supervisory monitoring mechanism.
When fraud is mentioned, is that if 1 billion naira is advanced to change agricultural practices, you give only 100 million to the right farmers, possibly, and the rest will be channeled. And that is why I gave you an instance in the first instance, not just to go and sign finance pact and get a window and takes $10 billion and you all for agricultural purposes, and you take $9 billion to political campaigns. I have said it before this one. So we don't need to expatiate on that. What I'm trying to portray is a situation where if we mean business, if we really want to change Africa, there are economies that we can cite, we can watch. Rwandan economy is one. Today Rwanda produces the entire energy they required. And it is not a magic science. It's just commitment. So if Nigeria is producing also and exporting energy while we are deficient in that, that shows that there is a lot of malpractices, and it has to be checked. We cannot just allow few individuals who are comfortable with generators in their homes to be dictating our energy production and supplies. It has to change, and we have to be proactive on that. And we are very lucky the president is aware that he has created an economic zone. And today that economic zone has produced the largest refinery on African soil. Whoever thought that there is going to be a refinery in Lagos? Where is the land? What was the magic? So, but if we are to succeed, we have to face what was discussed at the French summit, that is inequality. The inequality is so much.
Okay, now when you talk about this inequality, that's, you said, between the European bloc,
yes,
and the African bloc,
yes.
I would like
and
to,
between individuals in
the
African bloc.
So whose fault?
Policymakers.
Who is to be blamed?
The policymakers, they are to be blamed, because it's the type of
policymakers in Africa,
and policymakers outside Africa. And that is why they need, under this summit, to sit down with the entire financial institution, 30 of them. The World Bank is there, the IMF is there. Some of the conditions they are laying up, they are putting, quite agreed. Yes, you are giving or you are advancing funds to us, but don't dictate to us what to do with the funds.
But don't you think it will be a little bit, because, for instance, let me see, for instance, let's look at a scenario where funds are being given to somebody. We know that, okay, there's a particular bank that will give you loan, but before you can access that loan, that bank must be able to know what you want to use the money for. That way there will be checks and balances. So don't you think that if it is left open, it will give room to the same issue we are talking about? Misappropriation, mismanagement.
Indirect, cannot, let me take it on individual basis. Charity is having so much of surplus, and I decided to meet Charity. Charity, please advance 100 million naira for me. You don't have to tell me what to do with 100 million. I may set a condition, because I would like to get my money back. No, that conditions is what is used to deprive the opportunity. You don't know my concept. Maybe my investment in agriculture is not crop production, it's animal raising. And you tell me to put on something that I don't have advantage on it. And at the end of the day, it will backfire. I cannot. But allow me to use it where I can efficiently make use of it, multiply it, and pay you back. That is your concern. What
if I know that you do not have the political will to use it efficiently, and for me to get my money back?
Then in the first instance, don't give me the money, don't give me the window. If that is your condition. And that is the same thing that I have said, it is affecting the African soil. Let me show you, for instance, the intervention of the Chinese bank for the rail, for the light rail project from Abuja to Kaduna. Every individual knows that it's a right project, because if it exists, it will help the economy, and it will help even the security of the entire sub-region. When you have your road network are working, and you have your rail lines are working, and you have our air industry also functioning, you facilitate the movement of goods and the officials who are in charge of all this investment. So, but for the Chinese intervention, you put a good rail and you bring an outdated train to function. when the entire economy is moving on a
Yes,
high
speed.
high speed, and you are giving
Train.
us locomotives, for instance, to come and operate. These are some of the things. These are the dictates from the Chinese, and that is why today, if you have high speed trains to be transporting people and goods in the economy, you cannot just decide and go. Do you understand? Because of the speed, because of the provision. So, but what I am emphasizing here is a simple fact that yes, there must be window to be created. There must be policy on ground, because the policy makers always dictate what kind of policy measure and how successful that policy measure is. And I have cited an example of the Rwandan economy. They have gone to the same market, and today their energy is working, the network of supply is working, their communication industry is also working perfectly, reaching the agricultural poor peasant far from Kigali, working, networking, selling his own product. So there is a lot of improvement. So there is no way we can shy away from that.
The issue of Rwanda, you're talking about policy makers in Rwanda working with sincerity of purpose, because that is what this is. For Rwanda to be able to achieve this, some persons decided that we must do the right thing at the right time.
Yes.
We must do right by the people.
Yeah.
Over the years, we have seen the opposite in Nigeria,
yes,
and which in some ways have caused some kind of distrust between the governed and those the people
the
and the government.
Yeah.
So how do we bridge that gap?
See,
Because there is need for change, individual change, policymakers must change, a private sector must change their attitude, everybody concerned must change. How do we bridge that gap? This should be your last word.
And that chance has to be positive change. That is the advocation of W.W. Rostow, a developmental economist, in his highlight for the stages of growth and development of nations. We can do that as simple as ABCD. Get the right people. I am speaking on behalf of myself, not anybody.
And there should be mechanism for sanction.
That is law. That is where law is coming in. Today, we have seen what transpired in our Commonwealth, that is the central bank. We have witnessed one lapses, and we are still expecting to see the action and the policies that are coming out. Remember, we discussed severally. I disagree with most of the things the central bank is pushing, especially on MPR, in controlling inflation. So the only thing you can, Paul Kagame was discovered, and that is how a leader is being discovered. When opportunity is given, and we watch carefully, we remove sentiment, and then give cooperation to any leader who is responsible for any policy to succeed. And in addition, in a simple word, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who created economic zone, some state prevented Dangote land to undertake this kind of project. But the Lagos Economic Free Zone created one, and it's going to produce 12,500 megawatts. I am emphasizing this because we have to wait for policy. It is policy that brought that to work.
I have to. We do not have much time. Yes, we do not have much time to continue this discussion. But I promise you, you're going to come back, because this is a continuous conversation. This is something that Nigerians are really interested in. So from all our conversation, you can Nigerians can go to sleep that really we are in a renewed hope era.